And so with this recording, we're going to make it available to other people so they have the latest information about the operation of the Iowa Land Refuge website. The first thing I want to share with you is just a quick chart. Um, I don't want you to read too much into this, but this is a representation of the amount of records that we have received from Iowa counties. So anything that you see that is in the green color represents the fact that we've received data from the county and it's represented in the Iowa Land Records database. I don't want you to be misled by some of the areas that are in white, particularly in the years between 2000 and current. Uh, what that represents is that we don't have 100% of everything. Um, so the chart itself represents that for that particular county, in a particular year, we have more than 98.99% of all of their records, and we consider them to be complete. In the context of the way we do business, we consider a record complete if we have both the index information and the associated image. And there is a corresponding chart that I'll share with you, um, and that is the chart that shows how many documents are public. So you can see that we are continually adding to our database. We are making the information available to the public. When we receive a document from a county, we don't make it immediately available to the public. We first run it through a process to check for personally identifiable information. And as soon as that process is complete, then we make it public. So, uh, in terms of real time, up to the current date, there is a bit of a lag time depending on how quickly the process is moving. But I hope you take away from this the basic idea that since the inception of the Iowa Land Record System, which was back in January of 2005, I think we've done a very good job of populating the database. It is fully representative. Some counties have done more to do back scanning to get older records online than others. Sometimes that's a matter of choice by the county. Oftentimes it's a matter of resources and time as to how much time they have, how many resources they have to actually do the indexing associated with it as well as scanning those older records. So it does vary from county to county. But if you think about it in the context of history since 2000 or 2005, it is a fairly complete complete record. So I'm going to close this out now. We'll move on with our presentation. Um, I'm going to skip over a few things, just assuming that perhaps you've had a chance to get over those initial hurdles. But within the Iowa Land Record System, we do require participants to go through a registration process. It's not self-registration as it used to be. It is something where an application needs to be submitted either by your organization or by you as an individual. And we do that primarily to protect the integrity of our system. There are a lot of bad actors out there. Um, we have experienced individuals and other organizations abusing our system. And this is just a way to make sure that the people who really need it, and from that point of view, we consider if you're a real estate professional in Iowa, whether you work for a bank or a law firm or a title company, you're an important part of our constituency. But also, if you're a citizen of Iowa, if you're an individual and you want to keep track of your property or you're doing genealogy research or whatever it is that you may choose to do, we want to support you as well. But if you're a bad actor, we want to keep you out because we want to preserve this resource for those people that it was created for. As a result of that, once you go through the registration process, you will be given credentials. in the form of a user ID. You'll set your own password. And then, in addition to that, depending on your role, you may be required to log in with two-factor authentication. Generally speaking, if you are just a searcher, you don't have to do that. But if you do anything like submit documents for recording, if you have responsibility for your organization's payment account, we're going to make you do two-factor authentication. But generally speaking, it's working well. We've been doing this for 2 years now, and so far I think people are getting used to it. Um, and it is, in my opinion, an improvement over the legacy system that it has replaced. So take advantage of that. Log in. When you log in, you will see a site similar to this one. It won't look exactly the same as mine because I'm logged into an administrative account, but it is very, very similar to what you would do. So um, I would like to just start with a discussion about um, the um, the elements that make up records. I know that many of you registered today because I looked at the comments that you submitted in advance. Um, there may be some frustration. You think it should be working, but it's not, or you're looking for some tips to help you become more efficient. And I hope I'm going to be able to give you that answer that you're looking for today. Not every part of the presentation will solve every problem, um, and that is because you have to recognize who we are. Um, our land records basically has assembled records from 99 different counties. Those 99 counties have had different recorders over the years. They've also had different local land records technical service providers, and they've changed. So there are going to be differences between how somebody indexed things 40 years ago versus how the current recorder might be doing things. And you just have to be aware uh, that those differences exist. We, in recent years, have begun to talk about things that could be done to normalize data to make it consistent across all counties and over longer time periods. And that is something that we think would be a good goal for us. But it is not a simple process. Normalizing data uh, is complicated. Um, you have to go through a process to do that. You need to validate accuracy, um, and that just is going to take time. So what we have is an assemblage of records from all over the state in the same database, but your searching experience may be different based on the county you're searching in. So part of the trick of um, successfully searching for land records is to understand the practices of a particular county, um, and having that in the back of your mind as you are attempting your search. We have tried to, and I think have successfully, set up the search structure so that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to search. There are several different types of specific searches that are very simple and easy to understand. And then we also provide an advanced search option that allow you to combine things in a little bit more complicated way. Um, so that's kind of up to you as to which search application or search method is most important to you. So the number one tip that I have for any of you is when you are searching in a particular county, the very best first thing you should do is run a very general search for that county to find out how they do things. And the best and easiest way to do that is to go in the navigation bar and choose county search. Very simple. Tell it what county you're searching in, and then choose a reasonable date range that somewhat matches the time period for the records that you're searching, because there is that variance over time that you need to account for. So I'm just going to randomly pick a county. Let's pick Clinton County, and I'm going to search for last month. And I've run through a search that shows me every document type, every record that they have last month for Clinton County. That's what I'm starting with. I received 692 results. The results came up fairly quickly, and it gives me some information immediately about how they do business. So, for example, one of the things you'll notice is that Clinton County uses a reference number for their recently recorded documents. You'll also notice that there is no booking page. So, if that data is absent, it means that you also can't use it as a search criteria. You'll also notice that they duplicate that into a separate field called instrument number, and don't be confused by that. Reference number and instrument number are really the same thing. Then there is a listing of the parties to the transaction. So you see that it's a combination in this first example of two individuals and then a company or an organization. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the recording date and time. You'll notice that there is a field called instrument date, and instrument date is defined to be the date that the document was executed by the parties. Not every county indexes the instrument date. So if that data element is absent from the screen, then you're not going to be able to really determine what the date of execution was without actually looking at the document. On the far right hand side, you'll see several icons. The PDF icon is what would open the document image to allow you to view it, and then you can see the date on which it was signed and the other information that you may be looking for. It opens in a new tab in your browser. If you want to see additional details about the document, you can click on this icon that looks like a piece of paper with writing on it. So I'm going to click on that. And now you can see more specifics. On the main page, you'll notice that the grantors and grantees are listed, but they're not identified as to what their role is. If you go into the details, you can actually see who is the grantor, who is the grantee. Well, what other information can you see? Well, you can see a little bit of additional information that's easier to read about the the platted or unplatted land. So in this case, we can see that there are two parcels, one in lot 22, one that's lot 23. Both of them are in block 22, and you can see that they have used the subdivision name to specify the town. Now, most counties, they're going to specify the town over in the city or town field, but Clinton does not do it that way. So that gives you some information that if for whatever reason you wanted to search by town, you would maybe not use the town field when you're doing a location search in this particular county. You'll also notice that they didn't just use the name of the town. It was preceded by the words town of. So that tells you that the name of the subdivision and the name of the town starts with that prefix of town of. And you're going to want to know that if you wanted to search on that criteria. A couple of other things. If you are in some counties, there may be an abbreviated legal description or a more complete legal description specified in these two fields that I'm highlighting here. In this particular case, Clinton County does not do that. And so in other counties, and you'll see in some of the demos that I do this morning, that there's a different type of information there. We do not enable a search of these particular two fields because there is such a variability in how individual counties index that information. Another thing you'll notice is that there is no postal identification number in the database. And generally speaking, that is because a particular county does not always have to index the postal ID. Uh, I saw several questions coming in looking at the registration information. How do I search by postal ID? And the answer is it's very difficult to do in the Iowa land record system because most counties historically do not index the postal identification number. Now, we have proposed that uh, the practice of indexing postal IDs should be adapted. It's actually a part of legislation that has been advanced in the last couple of years. It hasn't been enacted yet, and it's still being discussed by the various stakeholder groups. But until that happens, it's going to be really hard to do searching within the Iowa land record system by postal identification number. Okay, so those are some highlights here. You'll notice that we also have a data element called associated documents, and that is intended to tie related documents together. You don't see it in this first example here, but if you look at the next one down, you'll see an icon that looks like a page on top of each other. And that is a symbol for associated references. And if an associated references exists, then you would be able to see it. So in this particular case, we have a satisfaction and mortgage document and it has an associated reference. Let's go take a look at that. So it opens up the details page, and you can see that there is an associated reference to the satisfaction of mortgage. And in this particular case, it is a mortgage document. Um, and so if you want to see the details of that, you can click on the page icon here to find index information for the original mortgage. Or if you click on the PDF icon, it will display an image of that original mortgage. Um, I would say, generally speaking, that associated references, particularly within the banking industry, are one of the more popular and used elements of the website because it makes it so much easier to go see those related documents when that associated reference exists. Um, a question that I saw in the registration materials was, um, can I see the associated references without digging into those details? And the answer to that is right now, no. You do need to either look at the index data or you have to look at the associated reference to go to the next level to see the associated reference. I understand what uh, the person was saying because it would be nice if we could get everything on the main screen. Um, Maybe that is something that we can do as an enhancement going forward, but it's just not that way now. Partially because we have only so much real estate to work with on the web page. So when we set this up a few years ago, the new version, we had to pick and choose a little bit about what information we were going to display. But if there is an associated reference that has been indexed by the recorder, this is a very, very useful tool. So, what's the point of all this? The point of this initial discussion was that taking a look at how each individual county does their indexing, looking for clues maybe about what are their practices, can help you make decisions about how to conduct your search in other parts of the application. I would add to that that your uh, choices about date range can be important too. So if you wanted to look back in time and see uh, how they did it 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you might want to do that. This assumes that they've indexed that far back, but let's just take an example here. I'm going to go to January 1st of, let's just say, um, 2005. And we're just going to look at 1 month. We're still in Clinton County. And we're going to run that search. So you can see, doesn't look like a lot of things have changed. They still are only using the specific reference number, um, and some of the specific index practices look very similar. So I don't see a lot of change there. And that might tell you that at least that far back, you might be able to use the same search strategy that we did in 2025. All right. So the question I see in the chat pod is there a way to search by property address versus township, section, and range? And I'm actually going to say yes to that, but maybe not in the way that you think. So recorders indexes are not organized by a street address. The purpose of a legal document is to kind of be very specific about the property, which usually is a meat and bounds type of description that says, here's what section, township, and range, here's what lot, block, and subdivision is in. It may include that meets and bound description to go from fence post to oak tree to boulder or whatever it may be. And that is how recorders' indexes are organized because that's what the purpose of the document is. There are other databases that provide access to property address searches. And I would say, generally speaking, your assessor's databases are more likely to include property address information. And often, if you go to their systems and you find the address that you're looking for, you're going to find companion information about the document, such as the location information for section, township, and range, or lot, block, and subdivision. And then you can use the knowledge that you gain from that system to come back to our land records and search for it. I'm not familiar with every assessor's website, but the Beacon system is used by a lot of counties in Iowa. And if you really need to search by property address first, that is a good place to go. So, to answer another question I see here is, can you look up property by a specific subdivision name? And the answer to that is yes. And I'll give you a demonstration of that in just a moment. I see another question here. So the question was looking for a specific name of a company. Is there a general way to search by a company name? The user is pointing out that if you're not exactly right, that you may not get the results you're looking for. So yes, I'm going to show you some strategies to use that can help you get to where you want to be. So we're moving fast. We got a lot of questions. I just need to go through real quickly some of the main elements of the other search types. And I'll demonstrate a few things to you while we're there. So the first, most frequently used search in our land records, and I would say maybe one of the most successful ones is the name search. So you have the option to search by a person's name or search by an organization name. This is a little bit tricky from the standpoint that an organization name is not the only name that you might find in this field. There has been a historical practice of, uh, in addition to a person first name, like first name and last name, to also index the person's full name. And often name it goes into the same database field as an organization or company's name does. Now, you don't need to worry about that too much because if you're searching for a person's name, then I would recommend using the person name search and then enter their last name and first name. Uh, you are asked to specify um, a county associated with that, and you are allowed to choose up to 5 counties to conduct a name search. We do not enable automatic statewide searches by names. There is a presumption that most people have property in a particular county. They might have properties in multiple counties, but there's nobody that really owns property unless you're a big company on a statewide basis. I'm not going to say no, never. There may be opportunities to implement statewide searches in the future, but the way that the application is set up right now, you have a limit of 5 counties. There are other parts of the search, though, that are much more broad than that. And I would just say, as an example, I'm going to, if I run a search for my own records, there's no limitation on the date range. So if I say, show me all of my records um, with my name going back to the beginning of time, or however they started indexing electronically, you can do that. There really is no time limit on our search. But currently there is a limitation in terms of how many individual counties you can search for. Um, a big thing that I will help you with is the idea of a wild card. So I'm picked out an example here that I think could help you. Uh, and I'm going to search by organization name. And I'm going to type in the word green, followed by the letter S, and I'm going to search in Polk County. And I'm going to search by a very specific date just to make it easier. So I'm going back to um, 2022, and we're searching in August. Okay, so Polk County, I have the word greens, Greens, loaded in, and then the date August 1st, and I'm going to run that. So this is kind of highlighting the example where uh, the user said, I type in a name, and if it's not exact, I don't get the result I'm looking for. And that is exactly right. The database is set up, it's not a Google search. It is looking for a match of the character string. Okay. But uh, there is some saving grace here, and that is that we do have a wildcard feature here, which is represented by the character asterisk. So Shift 8 on your keyboard. And so what this is doing is saying, show me everything that begins with Greens, and then let's see what we get. So I'm going to run that search now. And instead of getting no results, I have results here. Now, Greens could be a person's part of a full name, or it could be the name of a company. So, and I'm sorry for picking on this individual, but This is just a random example I chose. But there is a person that's named Colby Greenslade. The last name begins with Greens. The way the database is structured, the full name of that person is indexed by the county with last name first. And that's why in the organization field, a person's name comes up. But usually, if you're searching by organization, you are searching for a company, and you can see that there are many examples here where Green State Credit Union came up. And so, if you keep in mind, if you know how the name of the company starts, for as many letters as you can specify accurately, and then you couple it with the wildcard key, then you're going to have success. So I'm going to go back and change this a little bit, and I'm going to just put in Green State. I'm going to leave the asterisk wildcard in play. I'm going to rerun my search, and now that person's name doesn't appear anymore. All it really is showing me is Green State. I did not have to remember to type in credit union, even though it is indexed that way. And that is a very useful way to use the company name search. Um, yes. Okay, I'm glad that helped you. So, a couple of parameters I'm going to give you about the use of the wildcard. The wildcard in this system is designed with the idea of starts with and then ends by unknown character string. So if you type in green or greens and you follow it by an asterisk, it's going to look for things that begin with that character string and then anything else that follows that. I do not recommend that you try to use the wildcard in the middle of a character string. Uh, and I do not recommend that you end your search, I'm sorry, that you begin your search with a wildcard. I understand why it would be tempting to do so, but if you keep the thought in your mind, begins with, um, and then follow it by the wildcard, you're going to have much, much more success. And I have even better news than that, and that is the wildcard feature actually is useful on several other data fields. Subdivision name, for example, is an example that comes up that might be of interest to you. All right. Um, this hour is going to go by very quickly, so I'm going to keep moving on. But the name search is the most active uh, search field in the application. I think the vast majority of users successfully use that. Uh, it's I'm going to describe it as a full-featured name search, um, and no matter what you're doing, sort of just searching by county name, it probably is going to be your most successful path to a search. Okay, moving on. The next type of search that you can do is a reference search. And by reference, I mean the reference number assigned to a document by the county. So remember when we were talking earlier about knowing what the county uses to do their reference indexing? Um, you know that in some cases it may not make sense to search by book and page because the county doesn't do it that way. There are a few counties that index only by book and page number and not by reference number. You need to know that. So when you run those county searches, look for their methodology, and then that gives you a clue about how to proceed. And the other thing I would tell you is, generally speaking, um, as you see it in the search results on our languages, is generally how you're going to want to enter it. So I'm going to give you an example of that, and we're going to stay in Polk County, and I'm going to search by reference number. So we're going to choose the county. And I'm not going to enter a date range because I don't have to. I just have to be very, very specific about what I'm searching for. And um, I'm going to um, search by this reference number without a date range. And the system is going to hopefully bring up that specific document that I'm looking for, so that I can examine it and do whatever my business is. I will give it a second more to run. So the other thing about Polk County is they use both a book and page reference and they have the reference number. So you can see this for this particular document. Um, I uh, I was able to successfully search by the full character string of their reference number, and now I can see that there is another reference number here, book and page that I can use. So I'm going to go back and we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to type in that number, and we're going to run that search again. So the same results should come up, that particular document is going to appear, and then we can proceed on to the next step. There must be a lot of people in the system right now because it's taking a little bit longer than it normally does. So I'll preview what I'm going to show you next, and that is the effect of the wildcard. And I do not have an explanation about why that did not work, but I'm going to move on. And we're going to go back to the reference number search, and I'm going to enter in, but instead of the last character 8, I'm going to enter the wildcard character. So what happens is that the search is going to pull up more than one reference because I left out the last digit in this character string. So hopefully it will come up here or not. Okay, so we have 10 results here. You'll notice that the original number I entered ended with the number 8. Um, and another thing I'll just point out to you that if I want to resort this and make it sorted by ascending instead of descending, that it will do that for me as well. And I am going to demonstrate one other thing, and that is that we are still on a web page here. So if you do a search and you don't find the exact thing that you're looking for and you don't want to scroll a million times, one thing that you can do is make sure that you're displaying as many results as you can. And then I tried this earlier. I just opened up my search on my web page, and I'm going to type in the last name of the person that was associated with that document, and you can find it that way as well. So it's not necessarily built into the application, but it is a trick that you can use that if you run a search and you've got a lot of results and you're trying to narrow it down and you know that one other piece of information, like a party name, that can help you, then it can get you where you want to go. All right. So that is essentially the thing that you would do by searching for by a reference number. What I observe and find is that people are searching by reference numbers. They really know exactly what they're looking for. And so it can be a tool that can be very helpful to you. It's not necessarily the most frequently used search type. I did have a number of people ask questions about uh, searching by document type, and so I'll try to address some of those issues here. So we're going to search in Morgan County this time, and I'm going to search by mortgage because that's a very common and easy one to find. And then we're going to just search in the last month here and run that search. Oops, there we go. And so you can see that in the month of August, there were 236 different mortgages recorded in Warren County. Now, that may be a little bit too broad for what I'm looking for, but again, if, for example, even if I'm not searching by name and I'm searching by document type, I'm just going to randomly pick one here. So if I change this to early, it's going to take me to that on the web page. So there's a way that you can combine the tools of your web browser to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Some questions that I received in advance related more to document types like easement. So if you, whether you're working for the DOT or somebody else, you can choose document type easements, and that can help you find what you're looking for. Another example of a question I have was about surveys. So, in the case of surveys, uh, maybe it's not exactly a plat that you're looking for. You might want to consider maybe searching for a monument preservation certificate at the same time. Another common one in the survey world is corner certificates. And if you search by those three document types within a particular county, you're going to get results. It looks like most of the documents are surveys and plats, some corner certificates, but that is a strategy that you can use. Um, I think the last one that I had a question about, I'm going to get rid of these document types here, and I'm going to choose um, condominium. Okay. So somebody asked me, well, can I search for a condominium museum? And the answer to that is yes. It's yes, but, or yes, if. And that is that I have to tell you that not every county has the same set of document types. If you were to go to any particular county, you're never going to find another county that matches it exactly. And the counties generally have been in the position of mapping their local document types to the Iowa land records document types, and they don't always do it the same way that you or I might do them. So what do you do in that type of a situation? You're trying to search by document type, and my advice is um, uh, try and think of a different strategy for searching because you might have more success finding a particular document, not by its document type, but maybe by the name or maybe by the location description. Another thing that I think I would recommend is using the category of other. Um, like it or not, uh, there are a lot of document types used locally where there is no matching document type in Iowa land records. And if you are really stumped and you're trying to search by document type, you might want to search by the category other because there are a lot of things that are kind of lumped into that group. And if you can kind of combine that other name with maybe some other search criteria, you might have some better success. Um, um, just looking at the chat pad again, the question is you have wildcards for reference numbers. And as I demonstrated before, yes, you can use a wildcard with a reference number. You can also use it, I would say, generally speaking, when we get to locations, if you use a wildcard and you start with and then end with a wildcard for subdivision names, that can be very successful. So I would not exclude it. We tried to enable the wild card for as many of the fields as we could, but it's not going to be a panacea for everything. But if you're stumped, it certainly is worth a try. So if you're searching and you can't find something by document type, remember that you look for other similar document types that it might have been lumped into, or you might look for that other category to see if it is there. And this is an area where you might find the advanced search helpful, and I'll demonstrate that in just a minute. So the next one I want to share with you is the location search. Um, and one of the tricky parts about location searches in our languages is that um, the way recorders' indexes are organized, it kind of lumps um, a property in either the category of platted land or unplatted land. And this is something that we have been looking at in recent history to see if there's some different way that we should approach that, because we've seen circumstances where a surveyor might be trying to search for a combination of something that may be a platted and an unplatted data element. We do not enable that today. We do limit you to either searching platted or unplatted data elements together, but we are looking for ways to make that a little bit more flexible. So I'm just going to do quick two demonstrations of a platted land search and an unplatted land search. I'm going to go back to Warren County, and something I picked out here that you might be searching for is a, um, a, um, a lot number. So I'm going to enter lot 10 here. So lot 10 in Warren County. Um, and then I'm just going to run that search, looking at see what date range I'm looking for. Let's just go with um, the current month. Okay. So what did I search by? I searched by lot 10. You can see that lot 10 is in the search results. So I've had a successful search, Warren County, current month, lot 10. Another version of that would be the subdivision name. So I'm going to just enter the entire subdivision name here. And I'm going to search by that. And you can see I did successfully get results using the subdivision name. I would understand it if maybe you didn't remember exactly. I don't know if you saw it or not, but when I first entered this, um, you'll see this. I entered it wrongly as plate two instead of plat two, and I had to do it over again. Well, another way around that would be to use a wildcard. So I'm going to go enter a wildcard after the word sunset. And then you can see that I now get that same result with Sunset Estates as a subdivision name. My tip to you on uh, this type of research is that, generally speaking, sort of lot is sort of one of the top levels of platted land subdivision, and the name of the county. I think those are good. I would be less confident in having you run a search only on a block number. I don't think they're well indexed, and you might have a little bit higher frustration level with that. But I'm not saying it won't work, but it may take longer for the search to run. So if you generally stick with subdivision name, county name, you're going to be in a good spot. I'm going to go back to the search results, and I'm going to just show you the details here. Um, Searching by city and town can be tricky. Sometimes searching by subdivision name can be tricky because different counties use different methods of abbreviation. So you can see that in this particular case, Warren County did enter in the full name of the town. They entered in NORW, which is an abbreviation for Norwalk. If you were to type in the complete name, Norwalk, in the city and town, you would not get results because it would not be a match. It's not looking for that, it's looking for an exact match. In the city and town field, you might be in a position to search by the town, um, and I would just enter it that way, and then you can try to run the search. Um, and you did get results from that, but it wasn't with the full name nor what. Okay. The next version I'm going to share with you is a search by unplatted land. I'm going to stay in Warren County, and now I'm going to enter section 24. Um, and and we're just going to run that search. So again, you can search by the elements of section, township, and range. I would just say my advice would be to try not to search only by township or only by range or only by quarter section. You can try it, you can do it. I believe it will work, but it may take longer. You might have a little higher frustration. Section number is really the most useful and quickest search results in our system, at least as we're structured today. But it is possible to do. All right. We have less than 10 minutes left in our allotted time, and there's one more thing I absolutely must show you, and that is the advanced search. So, um, the advanced search is one of those where you can start to mix and match different things. So, an example I would use, let's go back to Warren County here. And then we're going to search by deed. And I'm going to choose a specific date. In this case, it's going to be, sorry, September 15th, current year. And then I'm also going to search by uh, last name. Try this again. And so you can see that I was able to combine different data elements for a search. And keep in mind that the way the searches are structured is it's really designed to not generate a long list intended to for you to download it. The presumption is you're looking for something specific to do your research or to do your job. Uh, and I'm not saying you can't get broad sets of information, you can, but it really is designed to help you find the thing that you are looking for. Um, Now, one thing I want to make sure I highlight for you in the location search is that uh, things that really are not successful in our database because they're incomplete or so variable, we try not to implement those as true criteria. Down the road, when we do some data normalization and improve the quality of the data, absolutely, we would love to be able to do that. But things that just are going to not work and create frustration, um, we haven't enabled. So we do not have an interface for searching by postal identification number today because in the vast majority of counties, it's just not going to be successful. And there may have to be other strategies that you use There are counties that do use postal identification numbers. Let's just go to Johnson County real quick. So Johnson County, and I'm going to just search current month. Whoops. Um, check. Try this a different way. I'm going to enter a reference number here. Darn. I obviously there's a user error here. But if you do for searching of records in Johnson County, they do index postal identification numbers. It's something that you're interested in finding, but it's not something that you're going to be able to search by at the present time. So I think I have answered most of the questions that were on the list. Is there any specific question in the audience um, that you'd like to identify? So I see that the note from Keith. Have you first considered backfilling areas for empty fields? Yes, we have. Um, and actually, we have some methodologies in mind to do that. Uh, Unfortunately, I hate to sound like this, but it's just a fact. We're a very small team, and doing that would take some investment of resources and time, either technologically or some elbow grease that we just have not had. We have presented that concept, among others, to policymakers, and some of you may be aware that there was a request into the legislature to increase recording fees, and a portion of those recording fee increases would be dedicated to making further enhancements to the system. Um, so all I could say is I'll put it in a plea. Communicate with your association leadership and your respective organizations and encourage them to support legislation that would provide us with some additional resources to do those types of things, and also which would continue to give recorders the authority to adopt standards and best practices to encourage counties to continue marching down the road of doing things more consistently across each county. So the answer to that is yes. Um, any help you can give us would be very much appreciated. Um, in terms of the question about better finding plats, again, one thing that I would share with you is that for the last year or so, the recorders have had a joint planning group with the Society of Land Surveyors of Iowa on how to adopt more consistent indexing standards. Um, and that has gone so well. And part of the legislation I was referring to actually is a joint proposal from surveyors and recorders to improve the consistency of indexing surveys and plats. So that doesn't necessarily solve everything going back in time, but it is something that both organizations are working on. So in the meantime, um, search for surveys and plats. Don't forget those ancillary survey documents to include in your search if you're not finding what you're looking for. And I would just say to any of you that if you have a specific issue where you're trying to find something and you just can't get it to work, send it to us. Send us a note in our support page on our website. Um, Contact us via email at support@clris.com. And, we are here to help you as much as we can. Um, so I guess a question about plat maps is that um, surveys and plats are recorded, and often, plats are a part of that. Um, but it's not the same as the plat book in the auditor's office. Um, not always, anyway. So, if you have a specific instance of a plat that you're looking for, um, then we would be glad to help you. I see the comment about the use of AI. Artificial intelligence is definitely a tool that we know would be helpful in filling out some of the gaps in data. Um, and I think as a project manager, I would be very interested in doing that. Again, it kind of boils down to, what resources do we have to help us make that happen. Right now, that would be a little bit beyond our grasp, but I would very much be interested in doing that. And I've been in communication with some AI experts on how we might approach that. It's just that we are not there yet. Um, um, Kelly asked a question about the number of views remaining at the top of the screen. And the reason that that exists is because, again, kind of in that category, we had people abusing the system. And so for a standard user, um, you have 120 image views allowed per day in our system. There's no charge for using our system, but there is that constraint. And when the day ends and the new day begins, the clock starts again. So, take advantage of that. Uh, we set it at 120 because, generally speaking, if you're doing research and you're inspecting individual images, 120 is about what the normal person would be able to do in a day. And that's why it was set that way. We do have exceptions. If you're working on a specific research project, we will work with you to help you with that if there is a constraint that you need to overcome. Uh, so contact us again if you're in that type of a situation where there's a legitimate reason to temporarily exceed that limit. Um, um, The question is asked about, is there a way to find the full date range of available documents for each county? Um, I would generally, again, use the assumption back to 2005 or 2000. Before that, it's on a county by county basis. We do have a plan to publish a new version of search tips that would provide you with that specific information for each county. That plan is currently in development. So hopefully the team can get to that in the near future, but it's not there yet, but there is a plan to do that. Okay, I'm just going through the questions here real quick. Um, just to see if I missed anything. This video will be available for viewing at a later time. As soon as it is edited, we will get it posted to the owllandrecords.org website.
And Phil, you do have a question in the Q&A asking, and I didn't catch you answering this one, asking, what if the name starts with the? How should you search for those?
Could you repeat that question? And where is it in the chat?
Yeah, it's not in the chat pod, it's in the
Oh,
Q&A.
okay.
And yeah, it's asking how you can search for a name that starts with the.
Well, then I literally would use the wildcard and start it out with, if you think it starts with the, type in CHE, and then you follow it by the wildcard and see what comes up. Literally. That would be my best advice. if you gave me a specific example, I would be happy to research that offline for you. All right. Okay. Well, I think that covers all the questions. Yeah, again, if you have anything that you want to send our way for us to do some research or answer something specifically, um, I guess I would just want to conclude by saying we really appreciate our users. We have you in mind as we continue to work on and improve the system. I'm not going to be shy and say we know there are a lot of areas that we can improve. And I know our team wants to do that. We do need a little bit of help, but that is in our minds. So we'll do the best we can going forward. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have received some helpful tips, and we wish you a great fall and looking forward to the upcoming season. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.